Hello and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So we're carrying on with our Psyker build spree. So this is going to be number 3 in the series. And as you can see, we're using a gun. So let's dive in and see what this is all about. Right, so gear-wise, we're going to be starting off with our melee weapon. At the moment I'm using the Demius Mark IV Blaze Force Sword, but you do have a little bit of wiggle room with this build. So if you don't want to use the Demios, you can use the Mark IV Dueling Sword with Shred Uncanny Strikes, Crit and Maniac on. Or if you prefer the Ilias, you can also use one of them. As you can see here, I've got a couple of different builds I'm using. Shred with Blazing Spirit or Uncanny Strikes with Shred. Just a good way of ramping up melee damage to insane levels. But if you want to use something like a Shock Maul, they're perfectly usable as well. Thrust is a good shout on these. And Opportunist, because everything gets staggered when you hit it with a Shock Maul. So that's just 25% damage sitting there for you right from the beginning. But I do prefer the Demius. It's an incredibly versatile sword. It does amazing at horde clear, even though it's pigeonholed as single target armor breaker. But it's a very, very versatile weapon. And if you don't want to use Slaughter and Uncanny Strikes, you can also change that over to Deflector and Uncanny Strikes, which gives you quite a lot of versatility and survivability with that. But I quite like going for the power. And just talking about the Demius still, as I said about the swinging, it's very good quickly through boards. As you can see, you've got one strike straight to the face, and all the others are cleaving strikes, mostly at head level. And as for the armor cracking, you've got yourself a crusher, charge your sword up, and then heavy attack to the face. Does quite a bit of damage, but it will do a lot more when you have everything rolling like your talents and other things like that. So it's a very fun weapon to use, very good for dealing with hard targets. It gives you more of a well-rounded toolkit, in my opinion, which is why I usually stay with Demius. But as I said, you can choose whatever you want. Next up, we have the Quick Draw Stub Revolver, the Zorona version, which is the one you can aim, not the one that you can fan fire. And with this, we're going with unyielding and maniac damage to help with bosses and bulwarks and crushers, and maniac to deal with specials. Blessings wise, we're going with hand cannon for 6% rending on critical hit, and surgical for that lovely 100% crit chance while aiming down sights. Now, it's very annoying in the Psychonarium because in the standard Psychonarium it doesn't proc your keystone abilities, which will be, let's get the exact name for it, Disrupt Destiny. So Disrupt Destiny does not work in the Psychonarium, which is incredibly annoying because you can't properly test the build. But how this works is Disrupt Destiny will mark something with a blue outline, which means that is the target you need to kill. So you shoot it in the face. And as you can see, the revolver does silly damage even on damnation. The Quick Draw Stub Revolver is the closest thing the Psyker can get to a plasma gun. It is that level of power that you can get with this weapon, especially if you build it properly. So this is going to be for cracking specials and hard armor. So as you can see, as we aim down sights, surgical starts building up. You don't have to wait for the whole 10 stacks if you need to unload. But if we need to, we can blow an Ogryn's head off. Our damage will be much higher when Disrupt Destiny actually starts proccing, but we can't get it to work in the Psychonarium at this time. But yeah, the Stub Revolver is there for killing priority targets.
Tomorrow will endure, they say. But what?
So that's the revolver, and as for the Curios, I'm still using pretty much the same. 1 toughness, 1 health, 1 stamina. Some people say that the Psyker should use 2 toughness. I disagree, but obviously you can do what you want there. The only one I'd say is completely necessary is the stamina. You always want to run 1+3 stamina Curio. So for the perks on it, we're going with toughness, combat ability regeneration, and damage resistance gunners. And on the health one, we're going for max health, increased max health, combat ability regeneration, and damage resistance gunners. And for the stamina one, we're going increased toughness, combat ability regeneration, and damage resistance gunners. Gunners have been buffed massively. There was the buff that they told us, and then there was also a stealth buff which was not told, but people who have been researching it on the forums have basically said their damage is up by about something like 50 to 75%. So yeah, if you're watching this video further into the future, this might have changed, but at the moment, at the time of recording, gunners are extremely dangerous, especially to psykers. Which is also why, if you really want to, you can use deflection on the Demius just to give yourself another layer of defense against these sorts of things happening. So yeah, there you go. That's the toolkit. Let's have a look at the talents. So we're going to start off on the left here. We're going with Soul Stealer, replenish 7.5% toughness on warp attack kill. Perilous Combustion. Killing an elite or a special enemy applies 3 stacks of Soul Blaze to nearby enemies. Quietude, replenish 5% toughness for each 10% peril quelled. This is why I'm also using the Force Sword, because it's going to help with that. Toughness boost. Warp expenditure. Metal, critical hit, replenish 5% toughness. Perfect timing, 3% warp damage for 10 seconds on critical hits, stacks 5 times. And toughness boost. You may be wondering, why are we using Soul Stealer and other things like that when we're using a gun? And that's because Assail is going to be a massive part of our toolkit, and this is what is going to be driving up our perils. Assail we're going to be using for softening up hordes and mixed hordes. So hordes that include ragers, maulers, any specials. This is great for dealing with dogs, poxbursters, snipers, everything. Assail is a really, really nice skill to use. So we'll be using that. We're going to be using Ethereal Shards. Projectiles from Assail now pierce additional targets, just makes them better. And Quick Shards for 30% replenish speed. And then we're going to be coming down here. We're going to be grabbing Malefic Momentum, 4% damage to warp attacks for 8 seconds after a non-warp based kill, stacks 5 times. This is going to help us buff this. Because we're not using empowered psionics, our Assail is going to be slightly less powerful, but with this sort of thing, it's going to be stacking buffs on top of it. And then we're coming down here for Prescience. You now, as a coherency, gain 5% critical strike chance. This is going to help us using the quick draw stub revolver. Then we're going to be grabbing Empathic Evasion. Critical hits make you count as dodging range attacks for 1 second. This is an amazingly good skill, and if you can take it in your build, you always should. And then we come down here into Telekinetic Shield. This is just a very good ability to help your team and keep yourself safe. This is another reason why we want this, is to stop the overwhelming damage and suppression from heavy gunners. This is going to help an awful lot with that. And then we come down here for the health boost, and we're going to be grabbing Warp Rider. Deal up to 20% damage increased as your perils increase. We're going to be increasing our perils through the use of Assail, as it's our only warp damage attack. And we're grabbing the critical boost here. Kinetic Deflection, while below critical perils, blocking an attack causes you to gain perils instead of losing stamina. This is massively useful, especially to this build, because we have a way of dealing with our perils and we're not generating huge amounts. So along with our stamina Curio, this is also helping us deal with being overwhelmed by rages and the like. And then coming down here, we're going to be grabbing True Aim, landing 5 weak spot hits, grant your next range attack a guaranteed critical. We're just stacking crit upon crit upon crit in this build. And then down to here, we're grabbing Disrupt Destiny. Every second, enemies within 25 meters have a chance of being marked. Killing a marked enemy replenishes 10% toughness, grants 20% movement speed for 2.5 seconds, and adds a precision bonus. Each precision bonus grants 1% damage and 2% critical damage, and 2.5% weak spot damage. Precision bonuses stack 15 times, and when the duration ends, 1 stack is removed and the duration is refreshed. So you will not lose all stacks at the same time, you'll just lose 1 at a time. And hopefully, there will be enough targets around that you can ride at 15 for most of the match. And then we're grabbing Lingering Influence, increases the duration of Disrupt Destiny from 4 seconds to 10. And then Cruel Fortune, weak spot kills grant 2 additional stacks of Disrupt Destiny. Again, Assail and the Quick Draw Stub revolver is going to be helping massively with this, because we can target very easily and basically just blow through weak spots on monsters. And Assail always hits them in the weak spot anyway, so as you can see, even a mixed horde of specials, it does quite well against. But you do want to be mixing in between pistol attacks and Assail, as they're going to be buffing each other as you do it. And of course, your bubble. You're not going to be just standing there dropping it, you're going to be using this offensively. So as you are running through choke points, being gunned down corridors, you'll be dropping this as much as you can to limit the amount of suppression and damage that's been inflicted upon the team. And also, it keeps you safe. But you can always use this not just defensively, but aggressively. You can drop this in front of you to block off any ranged damage. So don't think you just have to kind of sit there and do nothing with it. You can use this extremely offensively. But there you go. That is the Quick Draw Assail build. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please let me know in the comments. And also, if you have been enjoying this video or any other on the channel, please do like, subscribe, ring that little bell for notifications. It really does help us out, guys. And I shall see you all for the next one. So until then, take it easy, and I'll see you later.